Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alicia Armendariz, and today I'm going to be talking about all the things that there is to do here in Manitou Springs. In a previous video that I had just done, I talked about more of the home sale prices and a little bit of the history of Manitou Springs and kind of what kind of people are maybe drawn to actually live in the area and also what type of businesses. But this video is going to be more of just a list of all the things that there is to do in Manitou, and whether you actually choose to live in Manitou Springs or live in Colorado Springs, or if you're just thinking of visiting the area, Manitou Springs has so many things to do, as you're gonna see on this list that I'm about to mention. And therefore, if you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to me. I am a licensed broker here in the state of Colorado, and I would love to help you with the real estate needs or just answer more questions about anything on this list, any other neighborhoods, and just the buying and selling process. And if you haven't, I just wanna remind you guys, please hit that subscribe button and bell to get notified when I make new videos each week on everything that is living Colorado Springs. Most of the things to do on this list are going to be spiritual in nature, not all, but the most of them. Since they sit in Manitou Springs, that is why Manitou is kind of known as being a spiritual town or kind of hippie almost. But whether you choose to live in Manitou, visit Manitou, or if you live in Colorado Springs and want to just make your way into Manitou on the weekend or just a day off for you, you're definitely going to probably check out the Incline. I think the Manitou Incline is probably one of the most used attractions on a regular basis. And the Manitou Incline is just a bunch of steps up the side of Pikes Peak Mountain. Pikes Peak is one of our 14ers here in the state. If you don't know what a 14er is, Colorado is known for having 52 peaks that are over 14,000 feet. One of them being Pikes Peak. Colorado Springs is actually the base of it. But if you want to do the incline, it is a bunch of old railroad ties that was used for cable cars back in the day. Tourists and locals started finding these railroad ties that went up the mountain that kind of resembled steps and started using them as workouts. Over time, people started kind of like catching on to this, and the city kind of got involved and were like, hey, let's fix up this incline since so many people are actually using it. So today, now, if you actually just get online, book a reservation, it technically is free, but you do need to go in 30-minute increments. We just have so many people that are using the incline on a regular basis for workouts, for the view at the top, what have you. It does get kind of busy and kind of packed, so they do need you to set up a reservation beforehand so that you can get there and climb it in increments. I will say it's not for the faint of hearts. You need to be in decent shape, definitely have good knees. This is not kid friendly, this is not dog friendly, even if you have a dog that hikes everywhere with you. This is just full blown steps. Kind of like the step master at the gym, but more intense. There is a 2,000 feet elevation change. There are over 2,000 steps, way over 2,000, I think 2,700 more close to it. And then also there is a steepness grade of 45%, and then some even at that 65-68% steepness grade. So, meaning there are definitely a lot of areas where it's just straight up. I myself haven't done the incline in a while. It's really hard on my knees. When I did do it when I was younger, I was probably in the best shape of my life, and I was able to do it in 40 minutes. But even then, there were certain parts where I had to be on all fours kind of climbing, and it was worth it at the top because you have beautiful views of all of Pikes Peak, Manitou Springs, all of Colorado looking out east, but it is definitely a trek. You don't have to take the incline down. You can if your knees are up to it, your lungs are up to it. You can just go straight up, straight down, but I don't recommend it. You can take Bar Trail. Bar Trail is the trail that you'll take to get up to the top of Pikes Peak, and it actually kind of runs back and forth like a normal trail, kind of along the side of the incline. So I do recommend, if you're up for it, take the incline up and then hike kind of down Bar Trail. With that being said, if you are just interested in hiking up Pikes Peak itself, Bar Trail is going to be the trail that you're going to use. It is 25 miles round trip. It takes about anywhere from 8 hours to 9 hours one way. And again, that depends on your fitness level. Pikes Peak is one of those 52 peaks. here that are over 14,000 feet. It is definitely one of the intermediate ones. I definitely recommend being in a decent amount of shape and definitely having the hiking gear for it. The interesting thing is that Bar Trailhead and then also to the beginning of the incline are right next to each other. If you park nearby, it's gonna be easy to go up one way and down the other, or vice versa. Actually, in the same parking lot across the street is going to be the Cog Rail. The Cog Rail is probably, I'm gonna say in my opinion, the third most popular attraction in Manitou Springs. It's the oldest cog rail train in the world, and it actually is a train that goes around and up Pikes Peak Mountain to the very top. To get to the top, it takes about 3.5 hours on the train. Then when you get up there, they give you about 40 minutes to kind of get out, explore, take pictures. You can see everything from all up and down the Continental Divide up to Wyoming, possibly on a clear day, all of Colorado Springs and what have you. It's just beautiful, beautiful views from one of the highest peaks here in Colorado and also here in the United States. One of the things you got to check out at the top is the donut shop. The donut shop that they have is pretty world famous. It's on the Food Network and a couple other must-see places. It's so well known because, for one, it just has delicious donuts, but at the same time, there is like a secret recipe as to how they make them, because being at that high of elevation, you have to bake them a certain way. And I'm not sure if that's a certain temperature or a certain ingredient they add, but to make the donuts rise and have the flavor that they do, there definitely is a secret behind it. And therefore, you're going to want to check out the donuts at the top of Pikes Peak. So the next two attractions on this list that I'm going to mention definitely add to the spirituality that is Manitou Springs. We have Cave of the Winds, and then we also have the Cliff Dwellings. Both were discovered in the late 1900s, along with the mineral water, the healing mineral water that everyone came to Manitou for. But the Cave of the Winds was actually discovered by two brothers in the early 1900s, and they actually were here looking for the healing mineral water, and they came across these caves. Today, you can now explore the caves. They have a variety of tours, some that last 45 minutes, some that last 90 minutes, and depending on your experience with caves or kind of what you're looking for, they have some family-oriented caves that you can do with the kiddos, kind of just do a walk-through tour. And then they have some more advanced cave tours where you actually wear a hard hat and a headlamp and have a flashlight, and you kind of get on your hands and knees and crawl through the caves that way. I will say almost every local kid here goes on a field trip to Cave of the Winds. So if you find out your kid ever has a field trip there, I recommend asking the school if you could tag along as a chaperone, because it's going to be totally worth it. Cave of the Winds is really cool. And recently they've actually added an attraction that wasn't there when I was a kid, and it's called the Pterodactyl. And basically it's a 2-seater kind of swing that sits on the cliffs 200 feet in the air and then releases just kind of down into the canyon and swings like this. If you're brave enough to do it, I say check it out. You can also get tickets for that on the Cave of the Wind website. But like I said, that is a newer attraction that I have yet to try. Then across the way, we have the Cliff Dwellings. The Cliff Dwellings are just that. There's some very old-timey Native American dwellings that have been around forever. Those are self-guided tours. You can just head up there. I do believe they're open year-round. Maybe January, February, they might be closed, but you can always jump online and look into hours operation and what have you. But those are also pretty cool. They also add to the spirituality that is just felt among Manitou Springs in general. Another popular spot to visit in Manitou Springs is the Miramont Castle. And Miramont Castle today is just beautiful Victorian property that is used as a museum, but initially when it was built in the early 1900s by a French Catholic priest, I believe, he had came to Manitou Springs looking for that healing mineral water and built the Miramont Castle that was used to help treat those with tuberculosis. It was a treatment center, I believe, for several years on and off, but I do believe in the 1940s a private owner bought it and since has kind of renovated it, or at least made it open to the public. Like I said, now it is a museum. It has several exhibits within the museum that kind of date back to just all the history of Manitou Springs and then a couple other things throughout history. You can also visit Miramont Castle for their high tea time. The room is called the Queen's Parlor, and it's kind of like a brunch. You have to buy a ticket for it, but it's like a light brunch where they do tea time. And it's more of like tea tasting, and they really encourage those to dress up kind of Victorian style. You don't have to, but they try and like to keep with theme. So if you're looking for kind of a unique, quaint, Victorian style of brunch, I would definitely get on their website and check out the tea times and the different variety of tea packages that you can purchase. Another place that I love to visit in Manitou Springs, which I think is super great for the kiddos and then also a really good date night idea, is the Penny Arcade. The Penny Arcade sits downtown Manitou Springs and is just kind of this indoor-outdoor arcade of very old-fashioned arcade games. Old-fashioned skee ball and pinball and classic horse racing and just what have you. So I find that a lot of kids love going there because you just don't see those video games around anymore. And then also as a date night, I find that that's pretty cool because it just kind of has a lot of conversation starters and just fun to kind of play some old-timey games with your date. So definitely check out the Penny Arcade. You can't miss it. Like I said, it's right downtown and it's an indoor-outdoor facility, so it's pretty cool and easy to find. And lastly, one of the best known things about Manitou Springs is that it has several mineral spas. You can come from out of town and book a few days there and stay, or you could just book a day trip if you're a local and go in to Manitou and get yourself some mineral water treatment. They have soaking tubs that you can sit in the mineral waters. They have yoga classes. They have massages. They have facials with the mineral water. Just an overall wellness center that tries to embrace the spirituality of Manitou Springs and that mineral water that does run throughout the city. So you guys, there are so many more things that you could do in Manitou Springs, things that I didn't even mention, but I thought that I would mention these since these are probably going to be the typical things that you find like on a TripAdvisor or when you Google. These are the things that you're also going to do just as a local of Colorado Springs, even if you don't live in Manitou. I find myself and I find my friends and other people going into Manitou on the weekend or like I said, their days off and just doing these things. Getting a call from a buddy like, hey, let's go do the incline, Saturday morning. That's not uncommon. People just do that all the time, how they just go to the gym. So if you guys have any questions over anything that I mentioned or anything in general about the buying or selling process, things on this list, neighborhoods in town, definitely let me know. I'd love to help you with the real estate needs. And again, please hit that subscribe button and bell to get notified when I make new videos each week on everything that is living Colorado Springs. And so until next time, I hope you guys have a good one.